Hi there. Right, well, I've never done one of these before, so I just thought I'd give it a wee go. This is my baby, my big manky ZX10R. And I've had it off the road all winter, and springtime's just around the corner, and I'm getting it cleaned up ready for putting back on the road. But I have to admit, I've been an all year round biker all these years, so I ride it through the winter usually, apart from this one. So it's got some cruddy parts in it. The main bit being the front brakes, which were well seized up and cruddied up. So big problem with ZX10R, this model, spongy brakes. So I'm giving Mr. Goodrich brake hoses a go. I've got the calipers off, as you can see, because basically they've been right seized up. There's my pads, new set of pads. I've got a little self-bleeding kit here with a tube with like a one-way valve thing on. I think that costs like a tenner, dead worth of money. Makes it dead easy. The Goodrich brake hoses go on a treat. You got all the new fittings, nice new washers, and they're just exactly the same length and shape as the existing Kawasaki ones. So they're just sitting there ready to connect up. The main reason I'm doing this vid is just to help you guys out who are maybe doing something similar, just to let you see what you're in for, because I've had a right chew on yesterday with the calipers. That's the old pipes there in the bag, and that's the box that the Goodrich hoses came in. I've just been cleaning up the caliper bolts here, the tops of them. I'm going to brush off with a wire brush and stuff, so I'm going to take you inside now. Here's all my bits and pieces, and show you what the calipers are made up of. Okay, so Kawasaki ZX10R 2006 model Tokiko front brake calipers. In case you're wondering, that's what they look like when they're in bits, because I certainly wasn't sure. I mean, I looked at the manuals and all sorts. Basically, when I took these off the bike to put the new hoses on, the old calipers were cruddied up, seized up, sorry, the old piston pots, which this is one of, were crowded up, seized up, and wouldn't pump in and out nicely, and were jammed up, and there was seals out all over the place. So I took them off, tried to free them up myself, fighting a losing battle, gave in and phoned my mate, who is a motorbike mechanic who's got his own wee place, and took them over to him, and he freed them off, split them down, because getting those old bolts out was a right chew. And then getting the piston pots out, you had to get a blowtorch on them and use an extractor and stuff and get them out. So he took them all to bits for me, gave me all the bits in a bag. So yesterday afternoon was spent in the sink, giving it a right good brush and a clean. You've got all these little grooves in here. There's 2 grooves for each one. That's the actual seal. Sorry, that's the actual seal, and that's like the dust seal. They go in the outer one. You can clean them out and clean all the crud out from in here using a little pick, and clean all the crap off these. And then the piston pots, I've gave them a nice gentle scrub, because you don't want to score them. But the main bit is this top bit, which is the bit which pumps in and out. So you don't want them getting crowded up again. So clean them all off. And according to my mate, who's been mechanicking for years and years and years, you smear that over the rings and in the grooves and on the piston pots. You slide it all nice and back in, and then I'm going to connect them back up together, and I'll show you the next stage. So, if you're a bit of a nerd like me and get into these things, it's quite interesting opening these things up and seeing all the wee ports and stuff where the fluid goes through and how it actually works. I'm sure motorbike mechanics are bored of this and they see this stuff all the time and that, but for your Joe Blogs who doesn't quite know how it goes, it's quite interesting, I think, when you see these things from the inside and you got a better understanding of how they actually work. And I'm not totally OCD, but I'm a little bit, and I like to know that my brake calipers are going to be in a nice good nick for the summer coming, and hopefully it's going to be a lot firmer. I've looked at loads of forums which say that these Tokiko calipers are crap, excuse the language, and you should bin them and put on CBR Thou Nissan ones, or ones off the ZX10R. But alternatively, I've read ones basically guys saying utter tosh, that's a better language term, and it's just about bleeding them properly and getting all the air out, and there's no reason why they shouldn't work. So I'm going to give it a damn good go and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, that's me. I've been smearing me Vaseline, and honestly, all the seals just sat in nice and crisp, just sat in, stuck in place, and then the piston pots, they just slid lovely, just nice down and in. So that's them all nice and in. So these are the bolts to go through. So I'm just going to copper ease them up and fit them back in and put the calipers back together. And I'll show you the next stage. Okay. Calipers fully fitted back on. Pads all sat in, everything in place. This is all tightened up. The only bit I haven't tightened up is the main bolts which hold the caliper onto the chassis, onto this, because when I pump them on, I want the pads and the caliper to find their own true seating first, then I'll tighten these bad boys up, but that's for later on. There's the new Goodrich hose there, running there, and then come around this side, we have an empty and clean reservoir. We have fresh brake fluid. Not one that's been sat on the shelf for months with the seal broken because the moisture would have got into it. It's part of the whole idea of this is to get nice fresh new fluid in there. And the main aim of this whole exercise now is to get air out of this whole system. Because air is our enemy. Air makes it spongy. Air makes your brakes not work. Okay, so we've got the two Goodrich hoses come down in there. Again, I've got this one still just slightly loose. I've got my little device with a one-way valve here, so when I pump the brake lever the fluid will come out and down into a bucket here, but not let air back up in. Another little tip that I've learned is on these bleeder screws here that I've got this one loosened off at the moment just to start the bleeding process, is you put, excuse my wonky camera, that's going to be my Scooby snack in a minute, PTFA tape, just on the thread, and that's going to prevent air getting back into it. Okay, so I'll update you with the next part. Okay, basically when you start this process you have to persevere, because first time I started doing it I thought, oh crap, because you're pumping away in the lever here and nothing happens, and you just got to think of all that air in that system. You've got to try and get it out, and it really is just perseverance. You know, you loosen off this bleed nipple first and go for a while and tighten that one up, then go to the other side and do the same with that one and tighten it up, and just keep pumping and alternating, you know, at the start. Don't forget this little one up here as well. Got to loosen off and try and get some air of that, and it's just bouncing between the three of them, trying to get the air out, and eventually you start getting fluid coming out. And what happens is, as you pump the lever, see those air bubbles coming out? Oh, that's good. That's what I want. Get that air out of the system. Out of the system. Yep, into the bucket. Well, the important thing is while you're doing this, don't forget this cylinder, because you're draining fluid through. If you let that drop down to below the little hole, you're knackered, because you put air in at the top of the system and you're going to have to start again. So keep it topped up, don't mess that out, yeah? So I'm just going to stop this and fill it up a bit and switch that hose over to the other nipple and just keep bouncing between the three. So what I maybe haven't mentioned is, when you've done a bit on each side, with this tube still connected, tighten this up first. So that's tight now. I'll just cinch that up a bit. Now, take this off. And all the while, make sure you're careful with this brake fluid stuff, because it's blooming horrible and it will knack your paintwork and other things and stuff. So at the end of all this, I'm going to give this a damn good wash off. But for the time being, you just try and catch every little bit with drips and stuff. I would expect to use that whole big bottle for this whole process, because that bottle's knackered now. I've broke the seal and opened it. It's marvelous. I would just have to throw it out unless I was using it for something else immediately. So I'm just going to use the whole bottle for this thing and keep topping this reservoir up, and pumping it through and pumping it through. Now that I'm getting to the finer points of it, what I'll do is I'll start tapping the hoses, just gently tapping them. You try to knock all the air bubbles that are caught in every little nook and cranny and recess. You try to knock them out and get them out of that system. You want that system 100% free of air. Then you're going to have shithole brakes. Yeah? I'm just going to show you here. Topped up the main reservoir. And I've got the bleed pipe on the master cylinder nipple here. Yeah? So, can you see those air bubbles? Move that around there. Caught under there. Yeah, that's a one-man operation. You don't need two folk for this. It's handy if you've got two folk. See doing that? Let it spring back. It lets some bubbles. Look at those bubbles coming out. See them? That's just draining away down in there. On the cylinder. As long as I see bubbles there, I'm going to keep doing this. Bubbles are my enemy. I don't like bubbles. I've got a big fast bike here. I want to be able to make sure I can stop it. And yeah, that reservoir's getting down, so I'm going to top it up again now. So, there we go. All bled off. All topped up to the right level. Fresh fluid. Brakes all pumped out, all cleaned off, and there was no more air coming out of them by the time the last few ones I did. You tighten off the bleed screws, all done. So while I was at it, I just, to finish off the last of the brake fluid, I changed the fluid in the rear reservoir, just flushed that through, pumped out the old stuff and pumped in some new stuff. Not that you use the back brakes much, but there you go, just feather it during a bend or whatever. So now what I'm going to do is give it a little wash and give it a little run up and down the street, just to make sure they're all tickety-boo.